What up, YouTube? If I was techie enough to put in, I want to ride my bicycle. Y'all be listening to that right now for a soundtrack, but you logged into my skit here, and this is my channel. We're going to go off the rails a little bit today, and we're going to talk about one of the best things on the planet. They say you can't buy happiness, and I say that's BS, because you can go buy a bicycle. So, this isn't your grandpa's Stingray or your grandma's convertible bicycle, boys and girls. I'm here to give you a tour down modernized cycling, and you're going to see what it takes to go fast in the world of modern day mountain biking. I've been chasing gravity and trying to defy gravity on two wheels for the last 30 plus years of my life. And folks, we're going to go down a detour here. That's right. And we're going to get off the marbles for a minute. And I'm going to show you guys why this right here is an antique. And nobody uses rubbers in the mountain biking world. So your inner tubes are for Grandpa. And I'm going to show you some of the best made engineered products that were made in America. That's Industry 9, folks, from North Carolina. I've got custom carbon fiber hoops in here. We got the world's finest titanium springs for preload. You got North Carolina back in the mix here. King Creek, made in America. The world's finest valving and shim stacks and effortless suspension. If you guys ever heard of Öhlins, they were in bed with Öhlins for a while. So if anybody knows anything about two wheels, y'all know about Öhlins. So those are the people that are behind this marvel. And I built this one for the wife. This was hers. She excelled. Here's another one. It's Carbon Wonder back here. This one's got a little bit different geometry. This is the Cross Country Queen. This is a downhill sled. This bicycle was handmade in Pennsylvania. That's an old Cannondale or can of snails or Kraken fail, whatever you want to call it. That's aluminum, 6160 T6 aluminum. It's about the thickness of a pop can, and you go down the mountain on it at 50 or 60 mile an hour, maybe 70 if you're really brave, in spandex and a styrofoam helmet. So if that don't get your fancy, folks, I don't know what will. And we're going to go all over some of the finest made products, I feel, ever in the bicycling world. And we'll talk about what happens when you put your nipples in the center instead of having them on the exterior. And then you put titanium aerospace grade spokes in there. And you move all the rotating weight to the center of the wheel. You get a bicycle on steroids that when you step on the pedal will compete with most traffic from the red light to 15, 17 mile an hour if you got the legs to push it. So, and this stuff right here, guys, if you know anything at all about machining, look at that machining. Those are two separate pieces of aluminum lugged to carbon fiber. So, and this is ballistic carbon, by the way. So I hope you guys enjoy where I'm going with this here. We'll stay at it for a little bit longer. If you've stayed with me this long, I'll show you what I feel is one of the finest bicycles ever on the planet, and I haven't found one I like better yet. So this is what I ride, folks. This is the unicorn right here, and if you've stayed, stay, because I'm gonna blow your mind. Whoop! What was that? Grandpa's Stingray never did that, did it? You see that? That's a hydraulic seat. It's fully adjustable to the rider's height. I can take this out of the bicycle and I can tune this thing to air pressure to my body weight so it goes up and down with the resistance I want. It's all on a beautiful ergonomic lever, and this bike has no front brake on it because it's only designed to go fast. And anyways, it has air shock in the front. It has open oil bath technology. It's 170 millimeters of travel. I have it tuned with air pressure, tokens, and oil to my riding liking. At the bottom of this fork, you're only one click away from, exactly what you want. You can control your rebound. One real fun thing to do when you show up at the trail, you offer your buddy something to drink or whatever if you're going to go out and race him, and when he's not looking, you go over and you twist all his knobs. So that's one of the ultimate doozies to do on your buddy. In the center of this wheel, we have some of the world's finest machining from Industry 9 in North Carolina. It's laced in Industry 9 aluminum hoop. This has aluminum enduro spokes in it. No front brake, no brake rotor. Get rid of that weight. We don't need it. We're only going fast on this model. Come back here. This is an air shock made North Carolina. It's Cane Creek double barrel. It has high speed, low speed compression settings. It has high speed, low speed rebound settings. I can adjust the air in this. This also has strips, volume reducing strips inside it. So I can adjust the preload and the pedal bob while I ride this thing, according to my weight, of course. You come down here, we got a carbon fiber crank arm. It has an aluminum 6160 slug down here that's threaded for the pedals, that's wrapped with carbon fiber, to a titanium axle. This is special. The boys at Schwinn did this for me. Everybody else has got a chromoly spindle, which weighs a whole lot more. And on the front of this bike that your grandfather Schwinn didn't have, if you're into machining, I hope the camera will zoom in. Let's see, we're going to have to do it this way for you. Stay with me, guys, and deal with me. Every one of these holes down this chain is thick or thin, thick or thin. Do you see that? They're different diameters. So the sprockets on these bicycles that we race, every other tooth is thick or thin to match that chain. So I'll come over this side. Well, actually, we can jump over to the wife's bike here. We'll jump over to her bike because she doesn't have a bash guard on hers. And you can see over here, let me get my finger in here. You have a thick tooth, a thin tooth, a thick tooth, a thin tooth, a thick tooth, a thin tooth. And this chain has these little cuts in here to keep the debris and everything clear and to reduce weight. This is a solid pin chain on her bike because this is an enduro bike, which is more of a extreme racing. The most extreme would be downhill. The milder version would be cross country. And this one over here, if you see this, the old Irreplaceable, the Supreme Bean unicorn right here, guys. This one here has color matching, of course, to the bike. It has hollow pins to even reduce more weight. And since we're going down this rabbit hole of weight reduction, we can come back here to these bolts and fasteners, and you can see that they've all been drilled. These are aerospace titanium alloy. These bolts here would be titanium. This axle is aluminum. All the pivots are aluminum with ceramic bushing style bearings. They're all made for nothing but workhorse. These bearings can go a year of riding in the mud and slop and perform flawlessly on this bicycle, guys. It has a carbon fiber link. Carbon fiber is used on this bike where it makes sense. This is a carbon fiber arch going to the suspension. So if you hung out this long, guys, I'll show you what it kind of takes to take care of this thing. Oh, I forgot about the brakes. Look over here. We got dual piston hydraulic brakes. They're just like the brakes on your car. They have brake fluid in them. There's a master cylinder and there's a bleed port. If you look over here, here's where you crack the bleeder on the brakes to bleed the air out of them. The pads are carbon friction metallic, just like the world's best race bikes. It's got titanium bolts and pins that hold the aluminum bushed rotors. I believe there's some type of stainless steel that doesn't warp or whatever. Then they cryogenically freeze them, because it's called ice tech, is what goes on with those rotors. So, you know, this is some of the most state-of-the-art stuff on the planet, guys. And this bicycle here is 11 gears in the back. It has a clutch. This right here is a clutch in the derailleur that eliminates all chain slap on the bike. And I've done a few modifications to this thing. This here is actually out of a sunglasses case. This is the foam, and I put this in here so I don't end up with chain drop. Like if I'm doing some really nasty, gnarly rock sections or roots, and I'm high speed and I need to backpedal for my timing, sometimes you get a chain sag. Well, to keep it from sagging any farther than this and control it, I put this foam in here. And this is some old tire rubber I got zip tied on here. This eliminates sound, so I'm stealthy when I'm racing. You don't hear me coming up behind you if I don't want you to. And I usually, during race season, I would put extra grease in my hubs, so if I did backpedal, they were quieter. And that was another technique I used to use. So the rubbers on this thing has the world's finest silk casings. These tires are so expensive because when the tire builder shows up at the auction to bid on the world's finest silk, they are actually competing against people like Ralph Lauren and fashion people that buy silk. So to make these rubber tires, there's a TPI number, and it's threads per square inch. And those threads inside my tires that I run on my bikes are made of silk, the world's finest silk. And what that does, it allows that sidewall at the perfect PSI to wrinkle like the world's best race cars and give me absolute traction with minimal bump and disruption on my ride. So that air pressure is the number one key to tune any race bike. And tires and wheels, regardless of what you're racing, is the best performance upgrade you can do to anything with tires and wheels on it. You always start there. There is no replacement for lightweight wheels, tires, and rims. So if you don't balance your race bike bicycle tires, you're out of your mind, because the bike ride's so much smoother with balanced tires. I use Storm fishing lead suspend strips. I cut them with scissors, and I hand balance my wheels on a V-block on the axle in a stand. And when I put it on the bike at high speed, when you start hitting 40, 50, 60 mile an hour on these bicycles, you'll start to feel a hop, and that's the wheels jumping. My bicycle doesn't do that. I can stay on my line and hit what I am looking at and circumcise a gnat at warp speed as I go through the trees with rocks and roots underneath me on a 30 or 45 degree grade. So people with bouncy wheels, they're all over the place, and boom, off the trees. So these are little tips and tricks. And if you stayed along this long and you want to see what's behind the scenes, this would have been the kit that we traveled with on the road when we raced. This has everything and anything in it to fix not only my bike, but all my friends and my competitors' bikes. I always would help anyone out at the races. We carried all this stuff with us to race. I just thought I'd pull this out of here. Extra brakes, rotors, pads, bolts, you name it. Check this out. It's only a few grams. This is a seat in carbon fiber rails. There's no metal or material in this at all. You're betting your manhood or ladyhood or private parts that you're going to pull this race off and be gentle enough to this thing not to destroy it or your private parts. So, a lot of craziness goes in there. These are called tokens, back to that front fork. These all come apart. I can stack these, and these are what you put inside a mountain bike fork to reduce the air on a RockShox model. Fox has tokens. Everybody's got their own special little tokens. Every brand. Nobody can get along. Everybody's got to do their own thing. And the rear shocks, to reduce volume, you have volume reducing strips that you put around the piston, and you can cut off lines and tune it exactly how you want. I thought I'd show you guys some other cool stuff. This is a mini pump you would have. I threw the inner tube out right away. Here, boom, throw this out. We're going to use Gorilla Tape. We're going to tape our rims and put a valve stem in them, and we're going to run tubeless wheels, because you don't want this inside your race tire, guys, because it creates resistance and heat. It's going to heat your tire up. You're going to have two rubbers rubbing against each other, fighting each other, and when you put this inside a tire, your tire does not work on the trail. Okay, for me to explain it to you would be like this. Your tire is like your bare hands, okay? You can grab a nut and bolt and you can put it together, right? You put this inside your race tire and you try to go down the hill. Now, put a mitten on your hands and get that nut and bolt. It's the same deal. This inhibits the tire from working and conforming to the trail. So you don't want this inside your tire. You want this inside your tire, right here. Tire sealant. And you take an old nasty, no more good bleeding syringe and you rip the end of it off and heat it up with a lighter so it fits your valve core, and you can inject sealant right into your rims after they're taped with this magic top secret Gorilla Tape, and you put a tubeless valve core in it. I'll show you some of the other stuff that we used to travel with here. These are all little parts. There's a tubeless valve core that would go through the rim. Those are some extra spokes, and that's called a French valve inside there. A lot of times, oops, my nipples are getting away. Those are spoke nipples there. They're made out of space-aged alloy, aluminum, super lightweight, anodized. It's got to match. Your kit's got to match. You're never as fast if your kit doesn't match. So check this out. The first thing we do on our race bikes, when we buy the world's best brakes, we tear all the fittings out of the world's best brakes, and I mean everything, folks. Bleed screws, everything. And we replace them with space-age titanium alloys that weigh a fraction of the weight. And this bolt right here, folks, may cost as much as an on-sale bicycle at Walmart. So if you don't think that this stuff isn't almost priced out of my reach anymore, it's like everything else. These even these titanium fasteners, guys, you're talking on the cheap, $3 to $7 a piece for a bolt here. So anyways, it just got outrageous. It's like playing golf, it seemed like every time you broke something, it was your greens fee. So, here's some of everything had to be torqued to exact Newton meters on these bikes. And there's a reason why you buy real tools certain times when it really matters. Because if you over torque an axle in a carbon fiber frame and you break it, there goes your $3,500 bicycle frame. So I always kept a little race tape with me. You never knew when you wanted to tape the pits off to keep the people out of your pits. It's always good to have some race tape in your kit. We didn't oil our chains, folks. We used race wax. It's called rock and roll. It's alcohol-based natural wax. So what happens is you shake it up like this. The wax is in the alcohol. You squirt it on your chain, okay? As the chain's moving, you keep it moving until you see it dry. Once the glistening wetness is gone, the alcohol evaporated and it leaves the wax behind. So no more dirty pants legs or nasty grease all over you on a modern day bike, guys. They're nice and clean. And you de-wax and wax your chains nowadays. You don't lube them with oil, Grandpa. So put the oil can down. You're going to kill the dinosaurs. Here's our brake fluid. It's 100% mineral oil. This is what we bleed our brakes with. You could use this in your cars, folks, too. If you completely strip the brake fluid out of it and you put this in it and you weren't racing your car, you could run your car on regular old mineral oil. If you didn't know, brakes will function on mineral oil and they will not boil unless you're Ricky Bobby. So anyhow, guys, some of the other parts you have to carry with you. You hung out this long, you'll get a little treat. We'll try to make this short, but I wanted to show you, if you're really, really into it and you hung out this long, you might be interested in seeing what's behind the scenes. These are almost like, I call them dollhouse fittings, but it would be the exact same thing that would be on any high-performance hydraulic system. They're all just little teeny hydraulic fittings, and these go in the hoses. Some of the other things we would carry with us would be like foam seals here and fork rebuild kits. Sometimes you'd have to rebuild your forks if you got in a really muddy race where it was raining a lot and your fork gets stuck down. When it comes back up, it pulled muddy water and crap down into the fork, so you'd always want to redo your forks sometimes when you were racing. It was a lot of fun, guys, and I spent a lot of time out in the woods on these things. And what I learned is I still like an aluminum frame, a good old aluminum frame, that when I screw it up, I can bring it home and grind it down and TIG weld it back together. You know, I tried running these awesome ballistic carbon frames, which ballistic carbon means that it was the world's best made carbon fiber. It would take bullets and not break, and I would destroy it. I'll show you guys here. Plastic rims. These were custom made for me. Oh, sweet. Had my name and everything on them. And look at that lip. Boom. Here's the world's best ballistic carbon hoops. Totally destroyed. I still run carbon fiber plastic wheels on my bikes occasionally when it's fitting, but I only run them on the front wheels. Where's it at? This one's got a big... Oh, yeah. It's broken there. Broke it there. This other one's got the big hole in it. Ta-da. I'll show you what happens if you don't get your air pressure dialed right. You'll blow an edge on the rim like I showed you there. And then over here is where it probably landed too hard and there was something pokey or pointy on the trail. Boom. Blew a hole right through the carbon fiber wheel. So that's junk. It's nothing but a wall hanger. There's a bunch of whatnot out the door. So these are the styrofoam helmets that I would run when I was cross country racing. I used to like Bell helmets. They have all this stitching inside this helmet. If you notice, it's silver. And the reason why that's silver is because silver's antimicrobial, so your helmet didn't get all smelling like a gym locker, a jock strap, or yoga pants. There you go, not to leave you ladies out. And some other stuff. If you stayed clipped in this long, let's talk about these pedals. You either love them or hate them, because when we get in our styrofoam helmets and our spandex pants to go down the Blue Ridge rocks at 50 miles an hour, we wear these special shoes that have threads in the bottom of them. And they'll have a cleat like that. And you can adjust that cleat. And depending on the size of that nipple on the back of that cleat is how many degrees of float you have when you're locked in that pedal before you unlock. So I run 20 degrees of float, which was the absolute most and dangerous, because you had to move your heel more than 20 degrees before you get out of this pedal. But when I was on the bike, I like to be able to throw it around and move with a little style. And if you have 5-degree pedals, you're unclipping all the time and falling out, and that's no fun. So anyhow, if I was going downhill, here you go, guys. This here is the world's finest, absolute best lid that you could put on your... I kept my pass on the back of it, and it is full carbon fiber, and it doesn't hardly weigh anything, guys, and it's protected my head through lots of banging it into the trees and rocks. We'd run goggles. They have pins on them. You'd run tear-offs just like motocross, tear it off. The thing on the back of the helmet there, that was my lift pass that they would scan, and that would get me on the lift. I used to go to the top of the mountain and let gravity take me down, is how it would work. You'd hang your bike on the back of a lift chair. If I would go backcountry shuttling, I would always wear a hydration pack when I was out backcountry, and this would be a hydration pack. It's a newer model. Has a bladder in the back of it. You can fill it up with water. And something really neat about these hydration packs, these newer ones that I didn't have when we first started, was this wonderful bladder that puts all the water down low and around your kidneys and your lower back and really protects you. And by not having a bladder this shaped, having one this shaped, keeps all your weight more centralized on the bike. You don't have this big, extra heavy lug up here. So you can really ride a lot better and get all crazy and throw your whips and hit big jumps much better with a camel pack like this, if you're used to riding, you know, shirtless or without weight or whatever. And then inside here, I would take my backcountry tools, whatever that I needed, you know, always a cigarette lighter, you know, a ferro rod or whatever, multiple sources of fire, whatever I needed to fix my bike and so on. And as far as fixing the bike, some neat little things about fixing a bike with a race bike. Here you go. See that? I'd always hide some zip ties or whatnot inside my crank arms. And then you come over here to like this one, and you look down here, look at that. I got a master link, it's a pop link. You just put it in there and step on the pedals real hard and it pops right together. So if you broke a chain, there's a master link hidden on this bike. I used to always hide safety wire and whatever. So guys, if you like to go fast, and we'll stop and visit these brakes, you got to be able to stop. Here's the master cylinder right here. This is it. You want her to see it. So that's a master cylinder. You take this cap out right here to bleed them. I have this special little cup that goes in there. You'd bleed your brakes and put your brake fluid or your mineral oil in there. So, and these levers on this bike, they're fully adjustable. You turn this knob and this adjusts your bar to your finger, your reach. You can adjust where it's at. So, if you didn't know about modern day bikes, guys, now you do. Welcome to my world. I believe in aluminum handlebars. My wife trusts her life to carbon fiber handlebars. So, I don't know. I've gotten into the trees too many times, guys. So, I built both these bikes from frame up. I would always buy my bicycles one frame at a time, cherry pick all the parts, build it exactly the way I wanted. And this is a lady seat right here, so you can pee without getting off the bike. No, I'm only kidding, folks. It's actually a man seat to protect your man parts, to protect that vein down there. So this is cut out, but the wife likes it, and she's got it on her bike. She runs a man seat, and she's manly and on this thing as she wants to be, and usually is way faster than all my man friends, and sometimes faster than me. So anyways, guys, when you see a little blonde dandelion on a mountain bike, don't think for 1 second you'd ever be able to keep up with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed my life behind bars and an experience of keeping up a race bike, you know, and just to stop back in before we hang out.